Hey crafters, happy Tuesday. So as you saw from the title of today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to make one of these like crafting myth ideas actually work. So you may have seen the idea before where you use string and fire and cold water to cut a glass bottle. So I've tried this before in the past. When I first saw this, I was like, so cool, I've got to do this, I've got so many craft ideas, and I could not seem to get it to work. So I watched a bunch of videos, did some more research, and finally after some trial and error, I figured out a way to make this actually work. So that's what I'm going to show you today, how to actually use a string and fire and water to cut through a glass bottle. And I promise this actually works. At least it works if you do it with the same things I'm doing it with. I'm gonna show you what bottle, what string, what my fuel, everything, so you can know exactly what I'm doing. And I think this would likely work on other glass containers. I'll test this on a few other items after the video, and I'll put that in the description below whether or not it works, but I'll show you what I'm going to be using. First of all, you need a glass bottle. I'm using this IBC cream soda here. And if your bottle has any labels or markings on it, you want to get those taken off. So easy way to do this is to use a razor blade, just come under the corner. Now once you take the label off, you may still have some goo and just stickiness here. Great way to get that off is to use a little Goo Gone. Just spray some on a paper towel and scrub this off. So I'm going to do that really quick, and I'll put the link for this in the description below. So you can see I got the stickiness off, but there's still a bit of Goo Gone residue on here, so I'm just gonna use a little bit of Dawn dish soap to get that all the way off. So now that we've got our bottle prepared, I'm going to talk through the next items that you will need, because once we actually start the process, you want to do this pretty quick. So I'm going to talk about some things first of all while we're still inside, and then we're going to go out into the garage for the actual cutting part, and I'll explain why I'm doing this in the garage. So first, let's talk about the rest of our materials. The next thing you're going to need is string or some kind of ribbon, rope, yarn. Here's what I would recommend. I tried this with an 100% acrylic yarn, and I also tried this with some rope. I didn't get good results on either of those. So I read up online a little bit, and people are saying to use cotton yarn. This is a 100% cotton yarn that I bought at Michael's. It's kind of like a cotton and cream yarn. That's an example of a more common 100% cotton yarn. You can find this, of course, at a craft store, but you could also find this somewhere like Walmart. We're going to be tying and cutting our yarn, so obviously scissors. Next big thing we're going to need, and this is one that makes a big difference in this, is you need something that is flammable, a flammable liquid. So what I'm using, because this is what I have, I'm using 70% isopropyl alcohol. I have heard of a lot of people doing this with acetone nail polish remover because that's also flammable. However, all my nail polish remover is not acetone because supposedly it's better for you or something. I've also seen people do this with lighter fluid. However, whatever you use, be very careful because these are flammable liquids, and yes, that's kind of what we need them to do, but obviously it could be really easy for a fire to get out of hand. So when you do this process, when it's actually time to use the flame, make sure your container of your flammable liquid is out of the way. Again, this is what I'm using because this is what I know I will get results from, but the acetone nail polish remover and the lighter fluid are just other examples of things that I've heard people getting success with this method. So the idea with this method is you basically soak some string, wrap it around the bottle, light it on fire. So I've got a nice little container here to put the rubbing alcohol in, and this is where I will soak my string. Obviously, you'll want a source of flame. I have been having all kinds of problems with these lighters, so that's why I have 2 of them. You should only need 1 if you can get yours to work, but for whatever reason, they don't want to work today. I know it might seem my material list is getting long, but we've only got 2 more things, and one of them is technically not actually a material. Again, I'm being so specific because the idea itself is pretty simple, but there's so many ways it can go wrong, and I personally had a really hard time finding a method that all the variables and factors in this would work, so this is why I'm going through in so much detail. Second to last item you will want is a container that you can fill with water and ice. I can't really show this on the camera or else I'll like be pulling it out on the kitchen floor, but I have a bunch of water in there right now. I already have a little bit of ice in there, but it's melted a lot, so I'm actually going to Not yet, because I don't want it to start melting anytime soon, but I'm going to get some more ice from in the freezer. Again, you want it to be really cold. You're gonna get better results that way. So make sure you wait to add your ice until you're ready to actually use it, or else if you add your ice and leave it sitting out, it's going to melt. Very final thing, here we go before we actually do this. I am going to be doing this in my garage. I would not recommend doing this inside, like inside, because you just don't want to like burn your house down. That's kind of not a good thing. However, I was trying to do this outside, but both times when I've tried to do this, it's been crazy windy outside. So that's why I'm opting for the garage, because if you have too much wind, it's going to blow out the flame and you won't be able to create enough heat on your bottle. So I'm going to be doing this in the garage, so there's no air currents, but I'm going to take some safety measures. Obviously, I'll have the bucket of water with me. I've also got a fire extinguisher that will be handy right beside me. So just make sure wherever you do this that you make smart choices and you think through, okay, fire hazard, this is working with an open flame, so just be careful when you do this. All right, after all that crazy long explanation to get the specifics, let's actually start working on this. So what I'm going to do before I even worry about my ice is I'm going to get my string ready. The trick that I found led to the success for me with this project is I need to wrap the yarn around the bottle 3 times. I tried it with 1, I could not get the flame to stay. I tried it with 2, it was a little better, but 3rd time was the charm. Wrap your bottle 3 times. I wouldn't necessarily recommend wrapping it more times than that, because yes, you will be able to get a good flame because there'll be so much there, but it's gonna be a lot harder to just work with and harder to ensure where your split actually happens. So to do this, I'm just going to wrap around 1, 2, and 3. And then while I've got this wrapped here, I'm gonna cut off this long end, and I'm going to pull this fairly snug, and I'm going to tie these 2 ends together. Again, you want this to be fairly snug, and you want your 3 wraparounds to be right next to each other. You don't want to create extra slack by having them spread way apart like that or anything. Once you tie this, you want to cut these tail ends off. Cutting the tail ends off helps the flame to go all the way around the bottle. So this is good to go. I'm gonna slide my yarn off. Now tying it on before you've actually soaked it will only work if your bottle doesn't get crazy wide at the bottom. Mine gets a little bit wider, but there's enough play in the yarn that it'll slide off. So make sure you'll be able to slide it back on. But now I've got my nice loop here. I'm going to put it in my dish, and I'm going to add a little more rubbing alcohol. I already had some in here from earlier, but we're gonna make sure we have enough in here so that we can really soak up. So again, this is an open source for your flammable liquid. So make sure when it's time to actually light the fire that this is not near the flame. So I'm gonna set this in the garage while I finish getting the rest of my items ready, and then it'll be time to cut the bottle. Next thing I'm going to do, I've got my bucket of water here, and I'm gonna add a bunch more ice. Alright, I've added a ton of ice. The colder the better, so don't be afraid to dump like all your ice into there. Again, don't be shy with the amount of ice you use. So that's the last step in my prep. Now it's time to move this show to the garage, and we're going to cut a glass bottle. Alright, the lighting isn't the greatest out here, but I'm doing this intentionally so that way you will be able to see the flame. So you're not really gonna see my face for the rest of this. My ice ready, my fire ready, and my yarn ready. Also, you'll want to have a paper towel handy, and I'll explain that in a moment. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the string around our bottle where we want to cut it, light it on fire with the clicker, turn it, and just slowly turn it while there's a flame, and then once the flame goes out, instantly dunk it into the water, and hopefully we'll hear the little pop noise on the camera. The reason I have this paper towel is because my fingers are going to be touching the flammable liquid and then immediately picking up the clicker. Obviously, I don't want to light my hand on fire, so I'm going to wipe my hands off with the paper towel just to help prevent that. Also, once I pull this out of here, I'm going to set my little container of rubbing alcohol to the side so I don't actually catch it on fire. All right, here we go. Take your string, your yarn, and carefully slide it onto the end of your bottle. You might need to use 2 hands to do this. I'm gonna keep the threads together. All 3 wraparounds, slide it to where you want it. You obviously want to get it pretty even. It'll get you a better cut. Set this to the side, wipe my hands off, and let's go. Let's play with fire. Slowly start turning it. And once I have that ring of fire, I'm just going to keep turning my bottle. Again, I'm keeping my hands away from the flame, and I'm going to do this until it's time to dunk it in the water, which will be once the flame goes out, because that will be the time at which there's no flame left. You do want to keep turning this though, so that way you have an even heat all the way around. So we're getting close, the flames are getting smaller. We want to burn this all the way out though, so that way we can get us, okay, here we go. Okay, I have the slightest crack in here. You can't really see it. So, we didn't get it hot enough. We need to do that again. Here we go, second time. Like I said, this is not a perfect method. This is taking me trial and error. So if it doesn't work, even after you have a big flame like that, don't be discouraged. You may want to try going colder with your water, adding even more ice, or you just may need to keep the flame going a little longer if you're able to. Here we go, take 2. Again, you want to be fast with this part, so as much of your fuel is still in the string as possible. Let's dunk it. So that's 2 tries. We're gonna try this one more time. This time we're gonna wrap it around 4 times because we obviously need to create more heat. So let's try that. I'm also gonna add more ice. Another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to let my bottle warm back up before I try this again, because right now it's still pretty cold. So even if I do the heat again, it might be too cold to actually light on fire. But I will go ahead and measure around 4 times. More ice, more flame, let's go. Hear that noise? Hopefully the camera caught it. Look at that. Here you can see the end of my bottle sitting there in the ice. Here's my cut bottle. You can see I have this one really jagged section, and I think that's probably in part because I tried this multiple times on this particular bottle, so it definitely weakened it. Doesn't seem to be near the knot or anything, so I don't think that was the issue. I'll show you a bottle I did just before filming this one. Here's the glass bottle. Again, another IBC cream soda. Here's the base from that one with the string still wrapped around it. Whoop. Okay, now this is kind of cool. It's shattered in a second spot from that time. So now I have this cool glass ring. Again, another piece right here. So there you have it. Now that you see that, yes, this is actually feasible. Again, this is not by any means a foolproof project. I got a great cut on this very first one I did. You can see it's pretty smooth. I've got a couple of sharp edges, but for the most part, great, very nice cut. The one I showed in the video, because it took more tries, didn't cut as well, but I still got this cool glass ring from it. I'm gonna slide the yarn off. Again, once you cut it, be very careful because the glass will still have sharp edges. I don't know, it's just kind of cool. And then I still have the top of my bottle with the bottom cut out, just like I was going for. Now, obviously, I'll need to do some more steps to finish up this process, to file it down. But this is a basic way of how you cut it. Again, the big things to remember are obviously safety first of all, but as far as making this work is it's all about the temperature extremes. The hotter you can get your bottle, and the way you do that is by keeping the flame going for longer, the hotter you can get it, and the colder you can make your water, again, dump more ice in, is going to give you the best results. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Let me know in the comments below if this works for you or not. Let me know things like what kind of string you're using, how many tries it takes you, whether you're getting really nice clean cuts or whether you're getting lots of jagged spots. I would love to hear y'all's results with this project, and if we all comment down below and help each other out, we can kind of help each other with some troubleshooting, because again, this is not a perfect project idea, but still very cool, and it's neat because you can do it with things that you probably already have on hand. So thanks for watching my video, y'all. Don't forget to come back later in the week for more awesome crafting videos. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to become one of my crafters if you haven't already. But until the next time I post a video, happy crafting.